guys, welcome to Kidmissing TV. A couple of things before I start the video. First of all, I'm sorry that I'm late in the day, but I had to actually write the case. This is the case of April Dawn Pennington. But before I get into it, I am very excited to announce that we have achieved 450 subscribers. Thank you so very much. Now, another quick programming note before I get on to April's case, and that is that in May, I have 3 Fridays in a row that I have appointments. So I'm not sure whether I'm going to do Dough Fridays those Fridays, or whether I'm going to maybe change it to Thursdays those weeks. I just know that I have to have a series of gel shots in my knee. So, and 1 week from today, I have my surgery, so yeah, you probably won't be seeing me on this channel next week. I'm gonna try to do my vlog channel and everything, not the day of my surgery. Well, I'll do it earlier in the day before I go, because it's not till 3 o'clock. So I just wanted to, and I need to address my makeup. It looks crazy because it's St. Patrick's Day, and on my other channel I did a video where I did St. Patrick's Day green and pink lipstick. So that's why it looks a little crazy. But so now that I've gotten all the pleasantries out of the way, now we can get into the case. April Dawn Pennington. There was another April Pennington, April Renee Pennington, different case. Disappeared from Montville, Connecticut. She did what a lot of 15-year-olds do. She crawled out of a bedroom window and snuck out to meet a boy. A 15-year-old classmate, Patrick P.J. Allain, Allain, and a 30-year-old man named George Michael Leonard, Leniart. So he stated that they met each other before they would sneak out and go be intimate. Now, it's been my experience being a teenager in the late 80s and early 90s that most of my peers who had boyfriends and whatnot, they were older. They were going to be in their mid-20s. Late teens to mid-20s. They weren't gonna be boys in our school, and they certainly weren't gonna be boys in our class. Because girls naturally mature faster than boys do. So it is unlikely, I'm not saying completely unheard of, but unlikely, for her to have been dating a classmate, a boy of the same age. She was probably dating Leonard. The 30-year-old. I'm not saying it's right, I'm saying it's common. Because of the difference in maturity level between males and females in their teenage years. It's not uncommon for, like I said, teenage girls to be dating boys, from the time they're 15 and 16 to be dating boys who are 25 to 30 years old. Like I said, not right, but it's common. At least where I'm from, it's common practice, and I'm from New England, which is where this case takes place. So just let me know in the comments if that's not common where you're from, or if things have changed, although this was 1996. So this would have been 3 years after I graduated. He changed his story. Elaine said that they had gone behind the Mohegan School, drank beer, smoked weed, and both had consensual sex with her. Again, I find that hard to believe. Later, he changed his story and stated that the two men had raped her and that Leonard had planned to murder her. Leonard at the time was waiting trial for the rape of a 13-year-old girl when April vanished in 1996. He was later convicted of that. In 2007, he was convicted of sexually assaulting a teenage boy. And Leonard said he knew PJ Elaine, and then he said no, he didn't. But the fact of the matter is that they were longtime friends. And he said he never met April, but he called her 5 times on the day of her disappearance. So there was $950 in cash hanging around the house for their rent. That's a lot of rent for 1996. Yikes. I pay that now. And I realize that's low, but I pay that now in 2025. Not back then. Back then, see, 1996, we rented an entire house for $6 something. So, yeah, that's insane. But anyway, and April didn't take it. Well, you know what? If she was an honest girl, even if she was sneaking out, she wasn't going to take the family's rent money. You know? And even if she planned to run away, she probably wasn't going to take the family's rent money. Just because she knew where the money was doesn't mean she would have taken it. You know? She took no personal belongings with her, not even her pocketbook. She was originally thought to have taken her black book bag, but it was later found in her locker at school. Now let me go back a minute. I said pocketbook, they said purse. They're the same thing, but in the way that I grew up, where I grew up, in New England, they wouldn't call it a purse. We call it a pocketbook. Let me know what you call it where you're from. A purse, a pocketbook, a handbag. Although a handbag is a little bit different than a purse. Kind of. A handbag has the short handles. That's a handbag. Although I had a teacher that called any pocketbook a handbag. So, but just for reference for the area, we call it a pocketbook. Like I said, let me know what you call it where you're from. She had sneaked out of the house before, but was always back in bed by morning. she had a breakup with her boyfriend a few days before and had threatened to harm herself. Her father says she was an attention seeker and she wasn't really going to harm herself. I don't think she harmed herself either. I think sometimes kids, when they have a breakup, may feel like that, but they get over it fairly quickly. A family friend named James Butler claims to have spoken to April for 15 to 30 minutes at a Blockbuster Video in Virginia Beach, Virginia in the year 1999, 3 years after she disappeared. But he didn't know she had been reported missing 3 years earlier. Something doesn't ring right here. Anyway, he said he didn't recognize her until she introduced herself and that she looked haggard, as if she had been abusing drugs. He also stated that she was accompanied by a toddler while he spoke to her, and that they stopped talking after a man in his late 20s walked into the store and insisted April leave without renting a movie. He told the Penningtons about seeing their daughter after they called him 3 weeks after the alleged sighting. Investigators later found out he had suffered memory loss from a traumatic brain injury and discounted his story. And Leonard was arrested in 2008, held on $2 million bail for kidnapping and homicide. Elaine could not be charged with rape, even though he admitted rape, because the statute of limitations had run out. I thought that in a lot of states, forcible rape didn't actually have a statute of limitations on forcible rape. I could be very wrong. He did testify against Leniart, Leniart, in order to have his own sentence for an unrelated sexual assault reduced. So both of these dudes were rapists. They just were. Allain, which is Allain, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, testified that after they raped April, she pretended not to be upset because she feared that they would harm her further. He said the Leniart told him he was in a cult and wanted a body for the altar and wanted to do April. He claims that Leniart dropped him off at his home, and he doesn't know what happened from there. Three jailhouse informants testified against Leniart. I hope I'm pronouncing that one correctly too. Leniart. that he had confessed to raping and killing a teenage girl. How do I put this so YouTube doesn't get mad at me? Disassembling her remains and placing the puzzle pieces into lobster pots off Long Island Sound. That's just horrible. But he also said he left her body on the bottom of the Thames River in Connecticut. I'm assuming it's pronounced the same way as the one in England. Thames. In England, that's the Thames. Now, it could be the Thames in Connecticut for all I know, but the day after she disappeared, Elaine said he found one of her shoes. I think both men killed her myself, but so did he put her in the river? Did he put her in Long Island Sound? Crabs are not going to eat a human body. Sorry. He said she's in the river, she was eaten by crabs. Crabs are not going to eat human. Sorry. They don't have the ability. Their mouths are way too small. I mean, they may pinch you with their pincers, but even that's not going to break the skin with a crab. I mean, yes, they have strong pincers and they might do damage, but no, that's not what they eat. Leonard's ex-wife actually testified that she asked him about the case, and he said, the less you know, the better. Okay. He was convicted in March of 2010. However, in June of 2016, his conviction was overturned on appeal. And the prosecution appealed to a higher court, which in 2020 reinstated the conviction. She was a military brat, and her parents were once again moving. They were moving to New Jersey. She did not want to leave her friends in Connecticut. She'd only been there 2 years, so. Sadly, she had become a cutter. She had deliberately cut herself at least twice that they knew about. It was smoking pot, which she was a 15-year-old girl. I don't find that a big deal or alarming or anything, and you can say I'm terrible in the comments all you want, but I just don't find pot to be a big deal. Personal opinion. Now, it is completely, at this point, legal. I never did it before it was legal, but completely 100% legal here in Massachusetts. I think it is in Connecticut too. And have I tried it? Yeah. A pen, not the, well, no, actually, I tried a pipe too. But with people that I trusted. And I have to tell you, not a big deal. I mean, if anything, it helped with my anxiety. So, um, I don't see a big deal. Should she have been doing it at 15? Probably not. But, and if she was self-harming, it's interesting that her father would say she was just an attention seeker when she talked about wanting to end her life. If she was self-harming, then there was something more to it there. There was a mental issue. For him to say there wasn't when they knew she self-harmed at least twice, chances are they wouldn't have known every time because they would do it in places that you couldn't see. You know, under sleeves, under pants. And it's a pain to yourself, physical pain, to dull emotional pain. So, again, this was Montville, Connecticut. At one point, the police in the area, part because it took too long, but what do I think? Well, let me tell you real quick because it's been long enough. I think she was most likely sexually active. I think she was most likely sexually assaulted. Do I think she was necessarily murdered? I don't know. I don't think they have any actual proof of that. And I'm not sure they got a conviction without any proof of that. So, let me know what you think. But I don't think so. I don't think that she was necessarily murdered, possibly sexually assaulted, dropped off somewhere. Because the one thing I do believe is that she didn't show them that she was upset. I believe that. I do not believe all this cult malarkey for a minute. So, and this guy was an ephebophile, but not a murderer, as far as you can tell. Now, before I go, what is an ephebophile? It's someone who is attracted to teenagers. A pedophile is somebody who is attracted to children pre-puberty, and a ephebophile is attracted to teenagers. And yes, that's a real word. Watch Law and Order SVU. And that's what this man was, Leonard. But he had no history of murdering anyone that he assaulted, so that it just doesn't make sense. So I think that her friend that saw her may have actually seen her. And depending on how old this toddler was, she could have been pregnant when she left or gotten pregnant that night. Because a toddler can be up to 3 years old, although I don't call a 3-year-old a toddler. Some people do. My mother had very particular ideas on the stages of a child. An infant is up to a year old. From a year to 2.5 years is a toddler. From 2.5 years to 5 years is a preschooler. From 5 years on is a small child. you know? So I grew up with those very specific parameters. So to me, child could be up to 3 years old as a toddler in some people's eyes. To me, a toddler is going to be from just over a year, when they're first starting to walk or toddle. That's where the term toddler comes from. When they're first walking, they kind of toddle, because they kind of back and forth a little bit. They're not real steady. That's a toddler. But some people up to 3 years old is a toddler. So it's hard to say. Every person looks at that differently. And males might go on the older end because dads tend to think of their children as their babies a little bit longer than a mother would think of a child as their baby. You know what I mean? That's very common actually for dads to think of their child as their baby as their child is older. It's harder for them to see, especially their female child, to see their child really growing up. And she'll be their baby longer. Again, it's a dad thing. And this man, by the time he, was talking about it and stuff, would have been old enough to be a dad. So, like I said, to a man, a toddler could be a slightly older age than what a woman would consider a toddler. So, just to let you know that. But I am going to edit this a little bit to get that section out and try to make it a little bit shorter. Like I said, sorry about that, but there was a lot to cover. Thank you so much for joining me. Please subscribe. And again, thank you so much for a milestone. 450! Yippee! I love you guys. I will see you Wednesday, and I will see you Friday. Ooh, and after that, not so much. For a little bit, because I'm having surgery in my mouth. So I will see how I feel like next Wednesday and Friday to see if I might want to do a short case, something where I don't have to talk as much. Probably not Wednesday, maybe Friday. Thursday I have an appointment. So bye guys. God bless you.